Hi, I'm Jim Huss. I'm speaking with you from the showroom here at Keyboard Exchange International in sunny downtown, historic Sanford, Florida. And today we're taking on a rather ambitious project where we're going to be explaining important maintenance tips on the Hammond B3 and C3 organs. We're hoping that over time people will view the Hammond organ, the B3 and C3 models specifically, as being a cherished instrument, much like a Stradivarius violin is honored and cherished. These instruments were so well made, there's no reason why they, like a Stradivarius, can't one day be hundreds of years old, but it's up to us to maintain them properly. So I'm going to start by explaining that in a Hammond organ there are many moving parts. And we are referring to the tone wheel generator organs. So these organs require Hammond Organ Oil. Without oil, the organs won't continue to function properly. And that Hammond Organ Oil should be added once a year. In addition to lubrication, I'd like to point out that the wire that attaches the organ to the wall oftentimes is dry rotted and decrepit. And if you replace this wire, you're only doing a small part of what's necessary. This is obvious. What's not so obvious are the internal wires inside here that come up through the wiring tube, and those are equally dry rotted and rotted out after 50 years. So here at Keyboard Exchange International, when we do a restoration, safety is the first and most important thing that we address. And I'm referring specifically to the internal and external electrical wiring. The second part of a restoration addresses the audio quality of the organ. Now, obviously, if the organ isn't running properly because there's no oil in it, you won't get any good audio sound at all. But once things are running correctly, then we would look to things like tubes in the preamp. There are 8 vacuum tubes in a typical C3 or B3 Hammond organ. On these first 3, reading from right to left as you would a book, if any one of those 3 tubes are malfunctioning, the whole organ will shut down and not play. The next 2 tubes, you might only have a problem with one keyboard because those are related to the vibrato section. And then these last 3 tubes are directly related to the percussion section. If you happen to have a B2 or a C2, you only have 5 tubes because they didn't have percussion. So that's just a little tip to help you understand what's going on inside the organ. Now, as far as the other major components, you've got the preamp with the tubes. Behind it, you've got the tone generator system. To the far left, you have the synchronous run motor. Next to that is the scanner, which produces the vibrato effect that cannot seemingly be reproduced in digital fashion, and that's what makes the warmth of the Hammond organ so unique and beautiful in part. And then if you go down to the other far end, we have the start motor. When you hit your start switch to get the start motor engaged, that's a heavy-duty motor that gets those 91 wheels up and running. The synchronous motor keeps them running at a constant speed, and that's why the Hammond organ never needs to be tuned. In fact, it cannot be tuned. It's designed to run on 60 hertz to produce an A440 international tuning standard. So I don't want to make this particular section of the video too long. We'll conclude by an overview of saying lubrication is the #1 most important maintenance item. Contact cleaning, which we will address in a future video, is also important. Safety, internal wiring, these are what we're going to stress in this video, and then we'll get into more detail in future videos. Remember, think in terms of the Hammond B3 and the C3 and similar models as cherished instruments. The men who built these and maintained them for many years, we're slowly losing those men. So what we're trying to do with these videos is to preserve as much of the knowledge that they've passed on to us as possible so that we can keep these organs up and running long term. Thank you for your time and attention. I'm Jim Huss signing off from the showroom here at Keyboard Exchange International. This is a bottle of Hammond Organ Generator Oil supplied by the Hammond people. This is an 8-year supply, so don't try to put the whole bottle in the first year you get the organ. You'll just be over-oiling and causing problems for yourself. But what you are supposed to do is add drops of oil to places like this back here. That's one oiling port. And we recommend 10 to 15 drops once a year. There's another oiling port just like that, about 18 inches further down to the right, and we'll show you that a little later. If for some reason you're finding it difficult to get in there, those ports actually empty into this trough that goes down the entire length of the tone generator. Therefore, you can literally skip going into the port that I just showed you and add the oil in the trough. So there would be 4 places that you could add oil: the 2 ports and the both ends of that trough. The 5th place would be right here. And that oiling pan, if you will, should never be over-oiled, or else you will contaminate the brushes on your scanner. And this is why I refer to adding 10 to 15 drops of oil once a year. If you do it on a regular basis, that should finish up this bottle in 8 years. So let us look at this as 5 places that you'd want to add oil to the generator. 4 places for the generator, let me correct myself, and 1 place that down here that actually oils the scanner and the run motor. So let's set up the camera and look at the other end, but while we're here, let me just mention, this is the scanner. This is the synchronous run motor, and everything under the green felt is the tone generator. While we're here, we'll point out that this is the line box and a very integral part of your vibrato system. It's one of the only things that can't be accurately duplicated with digital equipment. And it's what gives the Hammond organ sound so much character. Then I'll ask my cameraman if he can get up here. Can you see the drawbars up here? If your drawbars aren't working, it might be because the wire has come off at the end of each drawbar. So let's go ahead and move down to the other end of the generator on the next chapter. Okay, we're at the right end of the tone generator on a C3. It's the same on a B3. And the other port to add oil is right back in here. It's actually a little bit awkward to get in there. And a friend of mine suggested that I'll show you an alternative oiling port. Now, if you have the long tube of oil, you might be able to get in there. But if not, come down here to this trough right here. That trough is where the oil goes when you put it in the official ports. But right here, it's right in front of the start motor, which is here. When you hit that first start switch, this is the heavy-duty start motor that gets all that mass moving. Once the tone wheels are up to speed, the run motor kicks in. That's at the other end of the generator. But right here is an oiling trough. Very much more convenient place to add the oil. So you want to come in here with 10 to 15 drops, 10 to 15 drops at the other end, either in the trough or in the oiling ports. So that's a heads up on the Hammond Organ Oil that should be added on a regular basis once a year. If you're using this extensively, commercially, try to add it twice a year. We'll go ahead and fade out here and see you at the next video.